Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
This podcast is an IVM production, and you can also check out their other awesome shows like IVM Likes, a show for your weekly dose of pop culture recommendations, whether it's books, movies, or TV shows by the folks in the IVM office.
You're listening to the Drinks and Destinations podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Drinks and Destinations podcast with Rajita and me, Samira. And today we have a very interesting chat lined up for you in our podcast. But before that, Rajita, I just want to talk about how traveling has taken over the world. I log on to Facebook, there are memes about leave your job and travel. You go to Instagram, there are people traveling all over the world, putting up pictures of like different foods and drinks. And Indians, for that matter, have really started traveling. I remember from our parents' generation, like, what holiday?
Like the holiday would be like a huge thing. Summer vacations, go to your grandmother's place, or winter vacations, maybe one trip outside your city or state, or maybe, But I remember my dad used to travel quite a lot all over India because of his job.
Mostly,
for work,
exactly.
And then sometimes travel maybe. And interestingly, in the last few years, my parents have discovered the length and breadth of this country.
Oh, really?
And even I haven't done that. Can you imagine?
Wow. Yeah.
At this age, after my dad's retirement, they have all they have done is just travel.
Well, I think that was kind of the trend, right? Like when you're working, you don't travel. You're busy like buying a house, building your family. Yeah. And then like now when they retire,
and suddenly there's nothing
travel.
else to do. When they're like, oh my God, I think we need to take a vacation.
It's all changed now. Like people are traveling before they're settling down. They're solo travelers. There are couples who just get married and want to like start traveling. And hence, like the way we look at traveling and how we like plan our trips has also changed, right?
Absolutely. Totally different now. And especially because now people leave their jobs just to travel all across the world.
Exactly. I don't know how that works out. I've been trying that for a while.
Yeah, but that's something which we need to find out. We need to find a formula how exactly you can actually monetize your traveling.
Well, we're lucky enough because today we are talking to someone who's done that, right? Like from her corporate job, she's moved on to planning travels for people.
Yes.
And what's her company called and who is she? Let's hear it from you.
So the company that we are talking about today is the Blueberry Trails, which is a travel company which customizes different kind of travel needs for customers. And we are going to talk to Sudipta Sanyal. She's the co-founder of the company. And Sudipta grew up as the daughter of an army man, and that made her actually travel an intrinsic part of her life. And she started exploring new places at quite a young age, and thus the idea to start a travel company came through. And that's when she realized that she has to actually make a business out of it. And she's a graduate from St. Xavier's College, Bombay, and completed her MBA from Wellington Institute. And she began her corporate career in branding and marketing in a leading retail chain in India.
Wow.
But 3 years into her job, the travel bug, like everyone else, bit her, and then she wanted to work independently on a travel brand. She met the co-founder Vishal at her workplace, and they brought together the concept of experiential personalized travel to the market with the company, the Blueberry Trails. And this has been like 6 years since they have been doing this. They have already done, catered to 5,000 happy travelers with upwards to 1,000 trips actually, operationalized with a growth of 100% year on year, which is very interesting.
Which is great.
And that shows actually that people are traveling quite a lot. And the current portfolio of the Blueberry Trails expands over to 42 countries, 400 destinations, and 4,000 itineraries.
Wow.
And so, let's just talk to Sudipta and find out how did she manage to do all that and what her idea of a perfect holiday would be. So let's go on a short break, and when we come back, we talk to Sudipta Sanyal.
Hi, I'm Ambika.
And I'm Hoshna.
Come journey with us around India as we chat about new and offbeat destinations, from secret islands to village stays, give you travel tips and advice, discuss all the yummy and weird food we've sampled, and induce some serious wanderlust.
So tune in to the Rediscovery Podcast.
New episodes out every Monday on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app you like.
D&D Chat.
So welcome back after the break, and now we begin with our D&D chat section where we are talking to Sudipta Sanyal from the Blueberry Trails and about her journey, about this amazing travel company that she started. And we just want to tell you this is a phone interview that we have done, so if there's a little disturbance, please excuse us for that. But it's going to be an interesting chat, so let's dive right into it.
So, Sudipta, before we start, can you please tell us a little bit about the Blueberry Trails and how exactly it started? How has been the journey for you?
Okay, sure. So, the Blueberry Trails, we've been around since 2010. We started this as an offbeat travel company, and those days, there weren't too many of offbeat travel companies around.
Yeah.
So we really started with a lot of, these curated weekend trips where we would say, okay, 25 तारीख को हम पंचगनी जा रहे हैं, and they were around various themes. So we would choose like music or like an outdoor screening of movies or stargazing, and we would conduct these weekend tours from Bombay.
Mm-hmm.
Then we expanded our portfolio to say, trips around India. So we started with the mountains, so a lot of Arunachal Pradesh, Ladakh, Lahore, Spiti.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 years back, we started with our international portfolio. And that's been doing really well for us. And we also pivoted to personalized holidays. So suppose, Rajita and Samira, both of you want to go on a Europe holiday, and you want to focus on, say, food and, cuisines basically, and you have a more, you are looking at that angle of the whole thing. We will design a trip for you, keeping food habits and, cuisines in mind.
Okay.
And that's what we've been doing so far. So, we've been constantly growing at 100 to 130% YOY, and we are a small energetic team of 10 people who sit and design these wonderful holidays for people.
Okay.
And that's what we've been doing. Yes.
And increasingly, what trend have you noticed? Like you mentioned, people like you can design specifically for food. So have you noticed something like which is more popular, like food or drinks or outdoor activities?
Absolutely. So if you remember, a few years back, you will hear most people going to Europe and, going with a cook, like a Gujarati cook or a Bengali
Maharaj,
cook. Now,
yes.
Maharaj, and that they thought was like the big, a luxury of sorts, like, oh, I'm taking my cook along. But now that habit has changed. Of course, there are a few people who still believe in that, but now people are far more experimental when it comes to food. People understand that food is a very important part of the culture of a place. So, it's not just about seeing museums and palaces, but it's about tasting their local food, whether vegetarian or non-vegetarian. So that we see as an increasing trend. And I would say 80% of our travelers who come to us say that food, is a focus on their journey. So they tell us in advance that, I'm a vegetarian or I'm a non-vegetarian, and we suggest to them restaurants that they can try or food that they should try in the place they're going to.
But have you had any kind of funny requests from your guests, like, this is what I want to do, and something that really is quite offbeat, something that you've never done before, kind of?
Some people are supremely experimental, like, there's like, crazy kind of alcohol available all over the world, right? Like the snake dipped in rice wine and stuff like that. So some people actually come to us and they say that, give us like the craziest food habits of that region, and we want to go on like a bucket list of sorts when it comes to food. So we design that for them. And some people really like to play it safe. So they just ask us for, like, I'm Jain, or I have certain, like I cannot have dairy products or whatever it is, and we customize it around that. But some people actually come with like a bucket list of food, and they say that, we want to tick these off, and we design a trip around that. So
wow, that's interesting. So they don't basically choose a destination, but it's about
but not so much. Like if they know they're going to Asia, they will choose like a list of Asian food that they know is quite insane, and they will say, hey, I want to do this, and we try to accommodate it wherever they are going.
But most of your clients are now based in India, or do you also get requests from outside?
No, most of it is, our Indian clients. So because we focus at the outbound section. So we cater to Indians who are traveling either within India or out of India.
And who are the people mostly coming to? Like, is it more young crowd, singles or families? Like, who do you think is more?
Yeah, so when we were doing these weekend getaways, it was mostly solo travelers, single people coming to, forming these groups. But now that we do personalized holidays where we say that, you should go, like if you want to go with your girlfriend, you want to go with your wife, you want to go with your kids, then, so now it's more of like, a young couple who've just gotten married, or a young couple with a child, or sometimes a couple who are taking their parents for their first Euro trip. So essentially the age group we cater to is like 25 to 40.
25 to 40.
Yeah. And what are the popular destinations do you think Indians are mostly traveling to, like the hot pick?
Okay. So, a lot of Indians, so when they look at Asia, they still prefer a city like Singapore, because I think also from a food perspective, if you look at it, Singapore is one of the greatest food cities in the world as we speak today. So they choose a lot of, Singapore, Malaysia, that's still popular. But I think I see a trend in people moving away from this also. Like before, people would go to Thailand and do a Bangkok Pattaya only.
Yeah.
Now people come to us and, most of our requests are for Krabi or for Phuket, which are not in the heart of the, of Thailand really. It's in the west coast, and people come for that. So that's quite refreshing and exciting for us to see. A lot of people are going to Bali these days, thanks to Eat, Pray, Love and AirAsia, both of them. So a lot of people come to us for that, and that's exciting for us. But essentially, the biggest trend that we have spotted is Europe. Europe is no longer perceived as a luxury destination. It's no longer perceived as a place for the rich.
Right.
Most of your friends around you will see, would have gone on a Euro trip this year or the year before.
Yeah.
Right?
And
so
backpacking.
Backpacking, yes. And people are not averse to sharing, living in a hostel and, slugging it out that way, and meeting new people. So that is an energy shift that's happening that is very, very exciting for us at the Blueberry Trails, at least.
And what kind of budget do you usually ask for if people come up with when they come to you? Like, what is the range that they?
Yeah, so people, have this misconception, unfortunately, that customized trip is very expensive, but it is not at all so. So because we're a young company, we are constantly comparing our rates with, say, the other popular online travel companies out there. So like our trips are extremely affordable. So like our Europe holidays start from a $50,000 per person for, say, a 8-9 day holiday, and they of course go up to as much you want to customize, what kind of stays you want. But starting at a 50,000-60,000 rupees, we want to keep travel open to anyone. We don't perceive it as a luxury anymore.
And the lowest that you've actually ever got from any customer?
We do trips to Asia for as low as, say, 35,000 rupees per person. Those are the kind of budgets we look at.
So Rujita and I could be booking that soon.
Absolutely. Travel is completely affordable for everyone. I mean, even I'm a very thrifty traveler, so I get it.
Yes.
So, if suppose there is a solo girl who wants to take a trip to a place which is friendly, I mean it's something, because obviously if you're traveling alone, there are a lot of things to that goes in preparing for that trip, and you have to keep a lot of things in mind. So what kind of suggestions do you usually give to them, and what kind of locations, if that person has not come up with a destination, then what kind of location would you suggest?
Well, generally when people come to us for a trip, they have an idea if they want to do, Asia. Like Asia is very deep in culture and food and those kind of habits, while Europe is more about, architecture, adventure, history. So we gauge it that way. If a person is looking at a Asia holiday, we recommend, so Asian countries are very friendly to the female traveler, even though there are some reports to the contrary. But essentially the places we suggest and the cities or the towns we suggest, they're very female traveler friendly. So I would definitely recommend a Bali, because Bali is a very, very peaceful, very spiritual kind of a vibe. At the same time, it's fun because it's got beaches all over. So that's a very popular female travel destination. We also would recommend Thailand, because it's a great place for single solo travelers, because you go there, you meet a lot of people and you do lots of fun things like take boat rides together, go snorkeling together with a completely new group of friends. So yes, that. In Europe, I would totally recommend Spain, because it's a very friendly country. Like, people are very curious, and they're also very chilled out, So, many things are similar to our country, as in they like to take a nap in the afternoon, like very Goa, very Susegad, or very East India, like Calcutta, where I come from. So, they like their siesta, and they like their food, and they like their alcohol. So,
Spain is a good place for a solo traveler.
Absolutely. And the problem is that the whole of Europe is quite safe that way, but just the norther you go, people as a culture, they are more shut off. So if you're like solo and you know, after a while you spend some time on your own and you want to meet friends and all, like meet new people and all, it's just easier to make friends in the south of Europe than the north.
Portugal as well, you would say?
Absolutely. Yes, that too. But yes, and Portugal has some amazing beaches and stuff like that.
I'm also wondering, like within India, like women solo travelers, apart from Goa, where are they traveling and what are their popular destinations?
Well, now solo travelers, you know, far more popular and people are doing it more often. So there's no place really that you cannot do solo travel. Like if you go to even Ladakh, Lahaul Spiti, you know, you can just hop onto a bus and do that journey from Manali to Kaza on your own. And that region is also very, very safe.
Oh, that's something that I have been thinking of doing for a very long time, actually. That's one place, I think.
That's something you need to tick off your bucket list, Rajita.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's very achievable, you know. It's not like, you know, you need to hire a car only and go there. No, they have these amazing, I mean, they have the usual government buses, which takes 10 hours. But if you take a car, it'll just take 8 hours. So you're just saving on 2 hours. And it's going to be a bumpy ride either ways, a car or the bus. So you might as well, you know, suffer for a few more hours. So that's something. So Lahaul Spiti, definitely you can do Rajasthan. Rajasthan also has an amazing set of public transport, great Volvo buses that go between the cities. So that's a great place to cover. And these are places that I have done solo on my, you know, by myself. So I mean, I'm also speaking from experience. I've also done solo in Kerala. Some pockets are super friendly. Some pockets you just need to be a little wary because even though, you know, it's gaining momentum in our country, but you have to be safe, right? You have to prepare for the worst is how I look at it.
You also design some trips where people can actually visit some quirkiest bars around the world. So what are your views on that? What kind of bars you think you could include in that kind of a trip?
Absolutely. So, you know, like what we do is we will, you know, send you on a pub crawl where you can go and meet different kinds of people, or, you know, we will recommend a few bars in different cities that you go to, and, you know, we'll tell you that, okay, why don't you go and check out like X drink, which is amazing, or, you know, it's just strange. For example, like in Paris, we suggest all our travelers to go to these jazz bars, you know, they just like serve cheap beer, cheap wine, and they have amazing jazz bands that come and play for you, and you can just watch them for free. Budapest is very well known for ruin pubs. So these are essentially, you know, old mills and old properties that during the war were pretty much, you know, dysfunctional. So people just like pulled out sofas from their homes and made a pub out of it. So it has a lot of character. Like you'll still see an old bicycle or old remnants of a car used as decoration pieces, you know. So that's ruin pubs in Budapest. These are experiences that we suggest to all our travelers, you know.
So it's basically Asia and Europe that you focus on.
Yeah, Asia, Europe, South Africa, Australia, all of that. We haven't gone to America yet. So
what about Australia then? Australia has a huge food and drinks culture, which you know, obviously any traveler would like to know more about. What are the most popular destinations in Australia?
Melbourne and Sydney both are food capitals. They have amazing restaurants from all over the world, okay? And they also have these tram car experiences, which are essentially restaurants within a tram. While you're going around the city, you can have a dining experience while you're sitting in there. And also, you know, there are these vineyards very close to these cities like the Yarra Valley, or there are other vineyards close by. So you can actually have an amazing, like a whole day just spent in a, you know, pair your food with your wine and also make a day trip of it. Same with South Africa. South Africa has this entire Franschhoek wine region, which is very close to Cape Town. You can make a day trip of that. So you can, you know, go on a self-drive holiday, go there. They also have these wine trams where you can get up on the tram and it'll take you around the vineyard and you can make your stop, sip your wine and get back on the tram, and you're not even drinking and driving. So it's perfect.
That sounds like a very interesting plan. Definitely. And what about Iceland? You'd I mean, do you also have some recommendations for a place like Iceland? Because obviously not the regular travelers would not consider Iceland to be...
Yeah, it's so offbeat.
Yeah,
like, I've never heard someone like, I'm
Absolutely.
planning a trip to Iceland. And what do I do there?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Iceland has got like the strangest of food
Right.
of all the places that I have been to, at least. Like all their food is like there's nothing that's normal over there. Like even their
So
hot
did
dog
you have a good
has,
time
like,
eating there, or was it like a task, a Herculean task?
Well, it's quite exciting. Like one of the reasons I went there was because to try out the food, but after a while you want to, get back to your basics.
Yeah.
So, like they serve everything that you see in the wilderness. So there's a horse, there's sheep, they eat, reindeer, they eat
Wow.
their national bird, which is a puffin, and their biggest, media-driven food over there is the fermented shark or
Yeah.
hakal, and that's a terrible thing to eat, really. Like
So not typically for a vegetarian then.
Not at all, I
well,
think.
these dishes, no, but you will be surprised. Like Reykjavik, which is the capital of Iceland, because Icelandic food is always portrayed as a hardcore non-vegetarian thing. There are lots of really nice vegetarian restaurants there in Reykjavik. So vegans, vegetarians of any kind, they are very well catered to in the main city. So you don't need to worry.
And drinks? We wanted to know more about drinks.
Yeah. So drink-wise, the most famous import of Iceland is really called the Brennivin. It's called the Black Death. Okay, it's like schnapps made of potato mash, and that's what the locals drink, a lot of it. Mostly because Iceland had a beer ban till the 90s, so they were really getting high on Brennivin, all of them. So also, of course, it's very cold over there, so having something to warm you up really helps. And the cafe culture of Reykjavik in Iceland is excellent. So you have I remember going to a cafe which was based on a laundromat. Or,
wow.
it's like that. Or there's a cafe which is called like you can sit in the bar, get drinks, and if you're lucky, you can spot northern lights. Like they have an entire, wall just made of glass. And it's out in the open. So experiences like that are, commonplace in Iceland. So just trust the Icelanders to, take drinks and food to another level. Even if you look at like Blue Lagoon, which is a spa essentially, like it's a swimming pool which is filled by geothermally heated water. They have a bar there. So, the outside temperature on the land is like some -5, and you see ice. The water in which you're dipping in is like a toasty 40 degrees. So you're in a great place, and you can have a cold glass of beer from the bar over there.
Awesome.
So that's an amazing experience altogether.
Yeah, that's great. But so thank you so much, Sudipta. I think we've covered quite a lot, and thanks for all these suggestions and ideas, and hopefully our listeners also can take away few of the tips that you've
I'm
shared.
already sold on Iceland, Rajita. Like that's what I'm going to Sudipta for next time.
Yeah,
absolutely,
definitely.
absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you so
Bye.
much for being with us.
Absolutely, and thank you for your time.
So, Samira, that was quite interesting. Where are you going next?
I'm going to Iceland, Rajita, because wow, it just sounds like such an interesting place.
I know.
So offbeat, so different. Because, everybody is doing a lot of Asia and Europe, but Iceland is something different. And if I could muster up the courage, I really also want to end up traveling solo in India, like the trip to Lake Spiti and Ladakh that she mentioned. Sounds very easy.
Yeah, besides that trip, I think my first preference would be Australia, because I've been dreaming of going to Australia for so long, and
Right.
you know that my weakness is obviously the vineyards, and the wines that Australia produces are really fantastic, and I would really love to find a way to visit that region. So Australia would be in my mind.
Well, so these are our picks, guys. And if you are looking to plan something or customize a trip, well, you can definitely reach out to Blueberry Trails and keep listening to our podcast for amazing destinations and places and things to do that we can.
And you can also write to us and tell us about your favorite destinations and what kind of tips you would require from us. And, the email address. It's drinksanddestinations@gmail.com. And you can also subscribe to the Drinks and Destinations podcast on the IVM podcast app, which is also available on Android and iOS apps. And so while all of us love our tipple, make sure that you drink responsibly.
Bye.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Sorry to say, but there's been a slight delay due to the apocalypse having suddenly begun. As you can see, there's death, destruction, and chaos taking place all around us. But don't you worry, food and drinks will be served shortly, and I would recommend checking out
IVM Podcast.
Podcasts to catch some of your favorite Indian podcasts. We'll keep you going till this whole thing blows over. Thank you.